Hey guys, you have maybe seen my video that I just released yesterday about the 7.1 earthquake in Japan. You see the location here behind me. That was bad enough already, and there were several aftershocks. But the news that came out today are shocking, I have to say. And I'll tell you what the headlines are, and then we dig deeper into it. So what we could see today is authorities issue mega earthquake alert, and a mega earthquake is higher than 7. So they're talking about 9. That is something that is very, very rare. And that is something that the Cascadia Fault along the Pacific coast of Canada, Washington, and Oregon, and Northern California could produce. So a mega earthquake, and the Japanese officials have released a warning for that after we already had a 7.1 there yesterday. This is very unusual and unheard of. I have never ever heard about this, and they have given a time frame. They said within the next 7 days. So the first time in history after these previous tremors, they did this because yesterday's tremors were in the same area where 80 years ago one of the world's deadliest earthquake has occurred. And are they worried that this might happen again because it's at the same location? Another headline also sounds really dire. Fear of apocalyptic consequences. Japan issues first mega earthquake warning. And this is not just some rogue journalists that want to do like fear-mongering or sensationalism. This was also released by the official authorities in Japan that monitor these quakes. And then another thing happened today. Japan's PM was supposed to do, the prime minister was supposed to do a trip, an overseas trip, but he canceled that trip because they say he fears that this mega quake could threaten at least 300,000 people, and lives could be at risk if that would hit the country. After yesterday, and yesterday's earthquake already did trigger a tsunami, not high, nothing very destructive, but it did. And we know if we see a 9 magnitude earthquake, that will almost with 100% security trigger a tsunami that will not be small. So what is this about? Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has canceled an overseas trip that was scheduled. He was scheduled to go to Central Asia. So when yesterday the tsunami waves did struck the main southern island of Japan, you see here, that's the epicenter of this quake. After this powerful 7.1 quake was registered just off the coast, it did injure 8 people so far, but nothing worse. Thankfully, buildings were damaged, and there were a lot of videos uploaded of shaking and stuff like that. You've probably seen it in my last video that I have uploaded. If not, check out the end screen, I'll put it there. So the Japanese Meteorological Agency has reacted to what has happened yesterday. So they triggered a warning of a possible mega quake on Thursday. So that is insane. So the prime minister should have traveled today to Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Mongolia, and he planned to attend a regional summit, but he has canceled that trip really at the last minute because of that mega quake threat. So this is unique in the world that you would even be able to predict an earthquake, because so far it is deemed not to be possible to predict earthquakes. But there is something that the Japanese have, and it's related to a submarine that tells them that something is off. We'll get into that in a minute. So normally you can only predict earthquakes a few seconds before, when it's already starting to shaking, when there's little tremors that trigger the seismic instruments. So that can give you a few seconds warning that could save lives if people have these warning systems in place. But here we're talking about days and a week. So that is definitely something out of the ordinary that we need to look at closer, guys. What did the Prime Minister say that he's canceled his trip last minute? So he said, quote, "As the Prime Minister of Japan with the highest responsibility for crisis management, I decided I should stay in Japan for at least a week." So he doesn't say, usually you could say, I leave this to my civil defense agency or disaster management agency that every country has, or, you know, vice presidents or some other ministers that could be responsible for this. So that he really stays home for about a week shows you how serious he takes that. And you know, let's not forget the year 2011, there was a quake of magnitude 9.0 that did trigger this devastating tsunami. We all remember that, and a nuclear disaster with the Fukushima power plant. So this is all still in the back of our heads. If I hear earthquake in Japan, I'm like, oof, tsunami and Fukushima. That comes to my mind, right? And there are a lot of nuclear power plants in Japan. For now, they're saying they will all be safe, but probably they thought that about Fukushima as well. You can never, ever, with a magnitude 9.0 earthquake, these predictions are just, in my opinion, wishful thinking. So the Prime Minister Kishida also mentioned, he said, when he was speaking, he said the public must be feeling very anxious following this alert about an impending, potential, probable mega quake that was issued by the official Japanese meteorological agency. And it's the first of this kind. They have a new system drawn up since that mega quake in 2011. They are saying the likelihood of a new major earthquake is higher than normal, but this is not an indication that a major earthquake will definitely occur. That's what they're saying. You can't predict it with 100% certainty. That's what the meteorological agency said, but the fact that they have issued this alert and the fact that the Prime Minister stays at home and says at least for a week tells you something. And we'll get to what they found at the bottom of the ocean that concerned them a lot. And even before the 7.1 earthquake happened yesterday, the Japanese government did already say that the probability, the chance that they could see a mega quake within the next 30 years would have roughly a 70% probability. So that was before they issued this alert now. So this could affect a large part of their Pacific coastline, of the Japanese Pacific coastline, would threaten, that's what they estimate, approximately 300,000 lives in the worst case scenario. What they're saying is, you know, they acknowledge earthquake prediction is impossible, but the occurrence of one earthquake usually does raise the likelihood of another. So thankfully, when the 7.1 earthquake happened, you know, we've seen videos of traffic lights and cars shaking, shelves shaking in the stores and stuff falling out. That was on the southern island of Kyushu, but there was no serious damage reported. The tidal waves did come up to 1 meter, and they were expected to strike repeatedly when Japan was bracing for a tsunami impact. So 1 meter waves, nothing higher, thankfully. But Japan did prepare its rapid response forces when these tsunami warnings were triggered over several regions on the southwestern islands of Kyushu and Shikoku. And you know, the Japanese people, they're used to earthquakes, so they feel this on a regular basis, also stronger ones. So that shouldn't scare them. But there have been reports from residents. One resident of Kyushu said, for example, "This is the first time in my life that I felt a shaking like this. So it must have been different when the homes and the power lines began to shake." So they say, normally I barely felt it when I'm outside or when I'm in a car, but this time it shook to the point that even when I was standing, there was a fluttering feeling. So now they think that the probability that they could see a mega quake of 9.0 within the next 30 years, they think it's 70 to 80% now. And what they added for the next few days, it is even higher. So the Japanese Meteorological Office has said that the possibility of a large-scale earthquake is considered to be relatively higher than under normal conditions. So they have urged residents to be on high alert for the coming week. And then, since we were speaking about the nuclear power plants, Japan's Nuclear Regulatory Authority has confirmed that all 12 nuclear reactors on the islands of Kyushu and Shikoku are safe. Well, we've discussed this. As safe as they can be, I guess. Unfortunately for Japan, it is located on the Ring of Fire. That is a line of seismic faults that are basically encircling the Pacific Ocean, and it's one of the most earthquake-prone countries in the world, but also the North American west coast of Canada and the US lies on the Pacific Ring of Fire with a lot of volcanoes, and the Cascadia Fault is the most dangerous there, where they also say it's overdue. Why did this agency now issue this alert? So they're saying what we just heard. If there's one quake, the way these quakes were, it could be an indicator that an even stronger one is coming. And if you're watching my channel on a regular basis, you have seen Campi Flegrei, the supervolcano near Naples in Italy. That has been rumbling with stronger quakes, and these are volcanic quakes, so they usually don't go in these super high ranges. They're not tectonic, but there was a 4.4 quake in May, and then the scientists have said, well, you should brace for an even bigger one, and something similar is happening here too. So they kind of think that this is the beginning of a seismic swarm, and a seismic swarm always starts smaller to bigger in most cases. So maybe that's what they're thinking, but there is something else. So the agency has also said that they have submarines in the Nankai Trough on the ocean. So they were checking this out, and this is exactly the area where the Eurasian tectonic plate meets the Philippine tectonic plate. So the submarine was doing some research there, as it seems, and the findings that they made is basically the chances of a major earthquakes in the region are relatively higher than normal for the next week. These earthquakes that we're talking about, these 9.0 or higher, usually in this area, in the Nankai Trough, how this is called, they typically occur every 100 to 150 years. So the most recent earthquake that hit the area was 78 years ago in December in 1946. So is it overdue? Is it due? I mean, the earthquakes don't follow exact numbers, right? It can be 50 years and then 150 years, but in that time frame. So it is possible. It's not unlikely that something like this could happen again. So what exactly is this Nankai Trough? So it is, I don't know if I pronounced that right. I only know that I have water troughs for my horses. So trough, what, you know what I mean. So the 800-kilometer trough, it's 500 miles, it's undersea, and it runs from Shizuoka, that's west of Tokyo, to the southern tip of Kyushu Island, and that's where we had the 7.1 out in the water. So this area has been the site of destructive quakes, magnitude 8 or 9 every century or two. They say every 100 to 150 years. So these so-called Megathrust quakes, which often occur in pairs, have been known to unleash dangerous tsunamis along Japan's southern coast. They occur in pairs, and maybe that's also a reason why they think the 7.1 could occur as a pair, so we could see another one. And then something really, really bad happened in 1707 because all segments, so the whole thing of the Nankai Trough ruptured at once. So these areas can rupture partially or at once. Same with the Cascadia Fault. It can rupture partially, maybe in southern Oregon, northern California, or like in the northern Oregon area, or the Canadian area, Vancouver Island, or all at once, which would be worst case scenario. So in 1707, this was exactly what has happened, and it has unleashed an earthquake that remains the nation's second most powerful earthquake on record. So this is an area that definitely the Japanese people are taking very, very serious. So that quake in 1707 has also triggered the last eruption of Mount Fuji. So it has also triggered a volcano. So does that scare you now if you live on the west coast of Canada and the US, the Pacific Ring of Fire with volcanoes everywhere? It scares me because the chair I'm sitting in is right on top of it, guys. So, but let's not talk about this. I don't feel so comfortable about this. Let's talk about Japan first, but actually, I will talk about this very, very soon, guys, because there's new developments that I think we all should talk about. 1707 Megathrust earthquake, Mount Fuji eruption, and after that more did follow. So two powerful Nankai Megathrust earthquakes in 1854, and then a pair of earthquakes in 1944 and 1946. So we're always talking about the big one here on the west coast of North America, but that word was originally connected to that area in Japan. That was the big one. That was the original definition of the big one. So that's why geologists are saying the history of great earthquakes at Nankai is convincingly scary. And yes, I am convinced. I don't know about you guys. Let me know in the comments. If you live in California, you maybe know that. So they say that California has a rule of thumb so that any given earthquake has around 5% chance of being a foreshock of something worse. So they haven't given us a percentage how that is in Japan, if this is different, but I think maybe it is not different. Of course, in California, that's different fault lines. That's the San Andreas Fault. And I've, by the way, just released a video about this because it could be that water is scratching the San Andreas Fault and triggering the earthquakes there. Very interesting video, guys. Check it out. I'll put the link in the end screen as well. And already after the quake yesterday, the Prime Minister has also posted on social media, and he basically wrote and he said to the people, please remain vigilant for strong tremors and take measures to protect your lives. This was before he issued then this unprecedented alert for this mega quake. And guys, I also want to clear up some confusion that you might have read in the newspapers or heard from some news stations, because yesterday the US Geological Survey, the USGS, has reported that there were 2 earthquakes, a 6.9 and then a 7.1, but they somehow got it wrong. They mixed it up and they corrected it shortly after. So it was only a 7.1. It wasn't 2 quakes, but the news agencies have caught up on this pretty quickly, and it was reported all over the place. Wherever you looked, it was like 2 strong earthquakes, but it was actually only 1, the 7.1. And guys, who had it right? Who saw that right away that there was a mistake? Because I did some research. It was me. If you've seen my video yesterday, I only reported about the 7.1. I was really on the pulse with this earthquake. I started making the video right away when this happened. So guys, I will stay on the pulse for you on this. Let's hope and pray that this mega quake will not happen. In the meantime, thank you so much for coming over to my second channel, to my new channel, News with Silky. We have almost reached the 1,000 subscribers, which is awesome. So thank you guys for coming over there. Now we just need to produce the watch hours to make YouTube pay me for my work there. And I have just released another video there. And it was just a coincidence. I witnessed a massive fire, actually 2 fires in Vancouver. I was just walking the dogs on the seawall, and then on the other side of the water, I saw smoke coming up, and I said, this is so black, this is so massive, there is something going on. So I started watching it, and then it started getting bigger and really like a sort of a mushroom cloud come up with big thick smoke. So I was right there when it started, and I found out what this was about. Actually 2 fires with a big construction crane that really collapsed on another home, trapping a guy in his bathroom. I made a video about this, so maybe that is of interest of you. This is on my new channel, because the new channel is about all the other news that I do not report here on this channel. This channel is more Mother Nature related. So I see you over there or I see you here. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for the coffees you keep buying me on my buymeacoffee.com/silky. The coffee really helps. It keeps me up and running. And as you always say, buy some treats for the doggies. I'll do that as well. So thanks for that. And thanks for your supers. It's really greatly appreciated. And one user wrote me today that he said his comments are disappearing, including the super that he wants to buy for me. And indeed, I couldn't find his super or his comments. Guys, I don't know why this happens, because for the comments, I have not restricted comments. YouTube gives you the option that you can basically hold back comments, yet you can have certain trigger words, so that these comments are held back for review. I have made it open to all comments so that everyone can comment whatever they like. I don't, so, but one thing I have noticed, and it took me a while to find out, because I thought, okay, I have clicked the banner that no comment moderation, I'm not holding back anything. YouTube holds some comments back automatically, it seems, and it seems from what I see, if they include a link to another channel or to another site, it's being held back. And I just recently discovered that, and I'll go through them, and then I have to click a bar and it says allow. And carrier bag, for example, I've seen a lot of your comments were like just held back by YouTube. So I just want to tell you guys, I'm not automatically holding back any comments or anything. I mean, we know it's the internet. There are sometimes really stupid weirdos, so I'll usually, if I see it, kick in the butt and bye-bye, right? We don't need that here, because this is such a great community, but I want every one of you to be able to express your opinion. So thanks for notifying me that there are problems. I'll try to find out what the problem was. I guess it's a YouTube bug. A lot of people report that they automatically unsubscribe from channels. I've seen that with my channel, but I'm also being unsubscribed from other channels. So Maybe it's a system bug. Who knows? I don't know, guys. Check my channel page regularly if you don't get notifications, because I do make videos almost every day. I'm trying this in various occasions. It's not the case. So thanks for watching, guys. I see you very soon. Bye-bye.